Welcome to American Graduate Day. I'm Christopher Ayers from WFYI, and I'm here with Nancy Stark of Conner Prairie and Cathy Ritchie of Girl Scouts of Central Indiana. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So we're here to talk a little bit about STEAM, that's or STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts and math, or just engineering and math, depending on how you slice it. But both of these organizations that you two are associated with, sort of institutions in Indiana. Conner Prairie, I remember going there as a child. Girl Scouts, long-standing organization. So Nancy, I want to toss the first one to you.
Okay, sure.
How is Conner Prairie emphasizing these the science, technology, engineering, math
Sure.
education?
Yes, well, we were mostly known for social studies and history, but of course that involved science and technology. We're just now, I think, pointing more about bringing that out, and as well as making some concerted efforts to really help with promoting STEM education and combining things. So we have done a variety of things. We got a grant from the National Science Foundation and the Institute of Museum and Library Services to create a framework for looking at history and science together so that other history organizations could maybe use the same framework to do that as well. So we take concepts like flight or electricity and we add the stories from the past by providing some performing arts into it, a character from the past, say a farm wife talking about how she's going to get electricity on the farm and how that's going to change her life. And then combining that with some hands-on activities of electrical circuits, so trying to combine those two things together. So there's always been things in the past, like for instance just pottery involves working with clay, and that's science, but you can create these beautiful objects and these objects that can be used in practical ways as well. So we're just kind of taking all that together and really trying to promote both arts, history, science, humanities, technology all together.
They're all integrated.
Yes, exactly.
Cathy, how about you? How are the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana, what are they doing to emphasize this science, technology, engineering, and math that we hear about all the time, that it's important, that it's very important to the future of our workforce? What's the Girl Scouts doing?
Well, you know, there's been a lot of research that talks about how important it is for girls in particular to have a girl-only space, to be able to take risks and fail, because girls don't like to do that a whole lot, especially if you're competing with other kids and boys in particular as they get older. They don't want to get a bad grade. So Girl Scouts is a really safe space to do that. We've had a math and science center on the west side of Indianapolis since the 90s. And in fact, Girl Scouts has a long history of doing STEM. One of our first badge books in the early 1900s, they were teaching girls to be airline mechanics and how to weld, because you know the men were off at war and women needed to know how to do those things when they grew up. So Girl Scouts has been doing that for a long time. Right now, we've had more of an emphasis on technology. We have done science a lot like you all have through our outdoor education and our camping program. But we're now beginning to really talk about, you've learned about environmental education, you've learned about watersheds. Well, this is science, and here's the career that you can do with it later. So we're being much more intentional about connecting the dots, that this is really important, and here's what you do back in school to continue with these really cool things you did over the summer or in your troop meeting.
It's sort of because I remember when I was in school, everything just seemed so separated, and there's a greater emphasis these days on showing how they are all integrated so that you can understand it within the context of everything else. I heard you mention there the importance of getting girls in particular, but young people involved in these sorts of science and technology. And so it doesn't just apply to girls, but to all kids of young ages.
Sure.
It's very important.
Girl Scouts has been involved with our Passport to High Tech, which is a fair that we do in March to try and connect kids with people working in the field, with universities that are offering various programs. There's a focus on girls for that one, but it's for anybody. Brothers can come along. And so we have that. We have instituted some new summer camps that focus on science. We had a maker camp this year to focus focus on making things, an archaeology camp to look at that. So as well as just some of the general ideas of helping teachers look at Conner Prairie in other ways that, okay, certainly you can cover social studies and history, but here are some ways you can look at STEM and science subjects while you're touring Conner Prairie, whether it be focusing on textiles and how they would dye the fabrics or other things, so blacksmithing, trades, things like that.
Well, we got to send it back to programming here for American Graduate Day. You can find out more about American Graduate events here in Indianapolis by going to amgrad.wfyi.org, or you can be a part of the discussion online on Twitter, #AmGradIndy. Now we return to American Graduate Day here on WFYI.